I stand here as someone that tells the history that I remember. If I had the discipline, I'd write it down, and I'm trying to. But let's look at who's telling our history today. Scope. Scope is the Spastic Society. It took 10 years to change their name when they were told it was offensive, and the reason was because they had legacy funding. And if they changed their name, they'd lose money. How appalling is that? And in this city, down the road, at the People's History Museum, they're trying to celebrate our history in partnership with Scope. Well, stuff it! I don't want to be recorded as someone that is recipient of charity and someone that is dependent upon people's handouts. I want to be a fair, equal citizen. And I don't want the People's History Museum to be celebrating our history with people that have made their living out of oppressing us, sticking us in institutions and abusing us. Leonard Cheshire has just been given £250,000 to set up an archive about disabled people's history. I wonder whether they're going to record the homes that they set up to keep us away from society, the homes that are now being investigated for historical abuse, physical, sexual and emotional abuse. So I want to record a history that's different, a history that is based about us coming together as disabled people and finding non-disabled people not to lead for us but to work with us. I'm proud of the fact that every single bit of knowledge that I have has been gained by working with some fantastic disabled people here and abroad. Because it's a small world that we share. It's getting even smaller every day through technology. But there are disabled people today that don't even have the privilege that we have of fresh water and food. So let's record the real history. The history of suffering and oppression. And I'm reminded, because I don't go to the cinema much because they're not all accessible, and a challenge to home is make your fifth screen accessible for more than one disabled person. If I was a wheelchair user and my partner was a wheelchair user, we can't go in that bit of home. So there's only one accessible wheelchair space. So good on the rest of it, but bad on that. But let's get it right. Let's work together and achieve. And if I had gone to the pictures recently, I'd have gone to see a film called Suffragettes. And it's particularly pertinent in Manchester because of the role of the Pankhursts. And I want to ask you, who has heard of Rosa May Billinghurst? Well done, Sarah. And Steve. For the rest of you, I'll tell you who she was. She was a disabled person. She was a wheelchair user. She was arrested 17 times. She was hospitalised 4 times by police brutality. She was a woman that fought for suffrage. She was a woman that fought not only for women, but for disabled people. Well, part of the story was told. Suffrage part was disabled people written out of history. And I could give other examples. I could give examples, for example, of the president that we had in the United States of America, the Queen that we had in the UK, the people that appeared in, as we're in a library, I'll do something I don't normally do, culture. Vulcan, one of the Greek gods. A disabled person, and if you ever look at pictures, you'll only ever see him at an anvil, because he didn't have the ability to walk. But, is that ever recorded? When we talk to our kids about positive images, we don't just need to look at the last 30 years, we need to look back, and look back at why we didn't appear, why we're not in that history. But coming back to the point, I'm proud of Manchester. I'm proud of the fact that the council worked in collaboration with us. Not initially. I remember picketing the town hall, and I remember the day that the decision was taken to make it accessible. It was when Manchester was hosting an International Trade Union Congress. And we picketed the building, and we asked trade unionists not to go in because we couldn't, and have the meeting in Albert Square instead. Now that caused a bit of embarrassment for the council leadership at the time, but they got the message, and they made the building accessible. But it wasn't easy. It wasn't money, it was architects. And it was people from various civic societies that liked the look of the building and didn't want it changed. Buy a simple message then, a simple message now. If we can't get into your buildings, no matter how pretty they are, they're no use. Tear them down, smash them up, don't care. But alternatively, make them accessible.